My name is Danny. I'm 29 years old, and I've made more poor decisions than I'd ever want to admit. But of all the mistakes I've made, none has wounded as deeply as the one I made that night. I turned my own pain into a weapon and used it against the one man who truly loved me. There were no raised voices, no broken dishes, no dramatic exits, just a sentence. Quiet, precise, irrevocable. That single moment tore everything apart. It replays in my head on a loop. The way my voice cut through the air, the look in his eyes, the silence that followed. I've always understood how words can scar, how they can do just as much damage as fists or fury. What I never expected was that I'd be the one to wield them like a knife. That evening started like any other in the small apartment we shared. Jay walked through the door later than usual, the collar of his shirt wrinkled. His body slouched from exhaustion. He'd been working overtime again, covering for a coworker who'd fallen sick. I knew that. I understood how tired he must have been. But all I could focus on was the fact that he had forgotten. Again. We had plans. I had carefully arranged a dinner, made reservations, timed everything perfectly. I wasn't asking for fireworks or over-the-top surprises. I just wanted to feel seen. I wanted, for once, to not be the one doing the waiting, the understanding, the compromising. Just one evening where I wasn't invisible. He walked in like he always did, dropped his keys on the counter with that familiar clatter, and smiled at me. "Hey, babe," he greeted softly, leaning in to kiss me. I turned away. His smile faded as confusion set in. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice steady and calm. And that's all it took. The dam I'd built inside burst wide open. All the moments I had brushed aside, the times I convinced myself they weren't worth bringing up, they came rushing out in a flood of hurt. I brought up the missed messages, the way everything else seemed to take priority over me. His work, his family, his stress. I told him I was done feeling like a background character in my own relationship. That I was tired of showing up for someone who seemed to forget I existed. He tried to explain. Said he didn't realize how important tonight was, that he thought I'd understand, that he was doing the best he could. But I didn't want to understand. I wanted him to feel what I felt. Neglected. Unimportant. So I reached for the one thing I knew would cut him the deepest. I said, "Maybe if you treated me like Ryan did, I wouldn't feel so invisible." Ryan, my ex. The man who once swept me off my feet with grand gestures and extravagant displays of affection. The one who showered me with gifts and attention in public. And the same man who slowly dismantled my self-worth when no one was watching. But I didn't say all that. I didn't tell Jay about the damage Ryan left behind. I simply compared Jay's quiet, steady love to a hollow, glittering illusion. I used Ryan's name like a dagger. Jay didn't react with anger. He didn't shout. He didn't defend himself. He simply looked at me, an expression of silent heartbreak and resignation written across his face. Then, in the softest voice I've ever heard, he said, "Then maybe you should have stayed with him." No bitterness, no sarcasm, just quiet surrender. He turned and walked into the bedroom, gently closing the door behind him. Not in frustration, not as a dramatic gesture, but like someone closing a book they know they'll never finish. I sat frozen on the couch, stunned. The television buzzed in the background, but I couldn't hear a thing. I was listening for movement, waiting for the door to creak open. But it never did. After an hour passed, I finally got up and opened the bedroom door, expecting to find him lying in bed, maybe angry but still there. He was gone. A few of his clothes were missing. His sneakers. The worn travel kit he always packed when visiting family. And resting on my pillow was a folded note. Just 2 lines. "I love you. But I'm done fighting to feel like I'm enough. I deserve more than being compared to someone who's not even here." I collapsed onto the floor, not because he left but because he was right. Jay wasn't flashy. He didn't declare his love in grand speeches or overwhelming surprises. He loved with consistency, with patience, with presence. He held my hand when anxiety gripped me. rubbed my back when pain doubled me over. He remembered how I took my coffee. He listened to my rants, my rambles, my silences. He showed up again and again without fanfare. But I had spent so long measuring him against someone who dazzled on the surface and devastated underneath. Ryan bought roses after screaming matches. Booked vacations to make up for emotional bruises. He was loud and dramatic and toxic, and I mistook all that noise for love. Jay never needed to apologize with gifts or getaways because he never made me feel small. Yet I punished him for not being what I thought I wanted, for not being louder. I missed being seen, and instead of telling Jay what I needed, I lashed out at the one man who would have done anything to give it to me if I had only asked. Days passed. The silence between us stretched like a shadow. No text, no calls, nothing. I sent him one message. Just one. Jay, I didn't mean it. I was hurt. You've always been the one who stayed. I'm sorry. He never replied. A week later, a friend mentioned he'd moved in with his cousin across town. No rebound. No drama. Usfin. Slipped away like the soft hush of that bedroom door. It's been almost 3 weeks now. I still sleep on the left side of the bed, leaving space for him out of habit. I still glance at the door every evening, half expecting to hear his keys. I still listen for footsteps that never come. And every day I wish I could take it all back. Those words, that moment. But once spoken, some things live on, echoing louder than you ever intended. If you're reading this and you're lucky enough to be loved by someone who's gentle, someone who stays, who listens, who tries even when they're exhausted, don't take that for granted. Don't mistake quiet love for lack of passion. Don't compare them to someone who shouted louder or dazzled brighter. Because sometimes the loudest love is the most damaging. And the softest love, the patient, steady, unwavering kind, is the only love that will truly carry you through a lifetime. Jay had that kind of love. And I let him walk away. So if you ever find yourself holding your partner up to the shadow of someone from your past, pause. Ask yourself if it's really about them, or about something inside you that's still aching. Because words, once spoken, don't disappear. And sometimes, they're the very reason the one person who loved you most decides not to turn back.